So now that we've had another high-profile police shooting of a black man captured on video, we are once again entering into the lather, rinse, repeat cycle of bad tropes. Very bad tropes. They're predictable, much like cycles of the weather. You know they're coming. We touched on it yesterday. Sometimes sometimes people just like the old tried and true. You know what happens. Police shoot somebody, then the left, quote, the left starts screaming to defund the police or charge people with crimes. And then the right rises up and says, but without police, we'll have chaos. And then we enter into the meme wars. Once we hit the meme wars segment of the show, invariably this one crops up. Surely you've seen it before. It's a classic, really. I mean, the right lives on this one. If you hate cops so much, next time there's a problem, why don't you call a crackhead? Yeah. Literally one of my least favorite ones. Like there are a lot better comebacks you could use out there, or a lot better attacks you could make than next time call a crackhead, okay? Because number one, crackheads don't have phones. Are you fucking stupid? They're hooked on crack. Duh. Good Lord. Secondly, crackheads don't have guns. So if I called a crackhead, I wouldn't have to worry about the crackhead killing my dog. Not really a concern, see? But sure, yeah, call a crackhead. Right, okay. This trope, unlike a lot of the other bad tropes out there, this one is blown up because of its simplicity and its hilariousness. Oh, call a crackhead. Oh, silly libtards. Oh, imagine what will happen when you call a crackhead. I crack myself up. Yeah, this one's gotten so big. Yeah, it's now full on involved in an incestuous relationship with capitalism. There you go. Yeah, we've gotten to the point where the trope and the saying has become so popularized, you can now buy it on a t-shirt on Amazon. Of course, it comes in men's, women's, and youth sizes. That's right. Your kids are never too young to learn the call a crackhead trope. That's right. That's quality parenting right there. That's right. Get them while they're young. Send them to school with that shirt on. Show those libturds who's boss, right? Look, it's even in an array of colors. So this way it can match whatever bootlicking outfit you're wearing for the day. You know, again, there's a wide array of, bootlicking activities out there that require different outfits. So now there's a matching look for any of those. It's an ensemble, some might say. Now, what if I told you that not only is this a shitty trope, for any multitude of common reasons, but that the cops are literally and almost totally, completely useless? How could you say such a thing, James? Yeah, the police are pretty much useless. So apparently we need to remind everybody about some very simple basics of policing. Number one is that the police serve and protect private property, not people. Now, we've reviewed this before, but in case you're confused, private property is any property that people own in conjunction with the state, i.e. land, i.e. mining rights, mineral rights, oil rights, water rights, farmland, buildings built with public money for commercial uses. These are all private property. It's property that people own in conjunction with the state, because technically you can't buy a piece of land. You can pay for the house and you can pay for the rights to the land, and the government concedes that you have the rights to the land as long as you pay a tax. But you don't own the land. You can't buy a piece of America and then be like, oh, look, it's mine. It's my own little nation. Like, that's not a thing. So the police exist to protect private property because they work for the state. They're paid for by the state, and their number one concern is the state. They really don't care about you. I don't know if you saw, we were running memes that the cop in Kenosha who put 6 rounds in the back of somebody getting into their car. He had a section of his memes where he like laughed and joked about the fact that only like 5% of police work is actually police work, and the other 95% of the time they don't give a fuck. Like, even cops joke about it. Like, they don't give a shit. So I went nosing around, and I found this here article, which is based on a paper. And I actually took some time and I checked into it, and it turns out it's 100% dead balls on. Now, I get shit for using a streamlined screen here. People are like, oh, you always hide your articles. Oh, you think you're hiding your sources. Oh, James is dishonest. So this is the Chicago Reporter. It is majority a public paper, or in this case now digital, and they focus on inequality and civil justice and that sort of thing, i.e. what you people would call a left publication. However, we did some checking. Number one, the author of this paper, Shima Bauman, is a professor of criminal law at the University of Utah, because, Utah is known for its crazy ass liberal bias, right? All those liberals hanging out in Utah. Yeah. Utah. She's worked with economists and political scientists to write articles involving advanced empirical modeling and randomized controlled trials, including the largest global field experiment in the world. This article she penned about a paper that she wrote, which discovered that police solve just 2% of all major crimes. Now, again, if we want to shit on this, I'm going to show you that this is actually a published paper. A paper in which she is listed, her university is listed, she has a full abstract on file, she has a full suggested citation for other academics who are going to cite her paper, and she has a full hyperlinked references section. The majority of her statistics are pulled from different FBI database downloads, which are publicly available. They're the ones that people always conveniently cherry pick when they want to talk about black on black crime and say some shit like, black people commit X percentage of all violent crimes. That's why the police are there, not because they're racist. Well, this is an actual professor of law who does advanced modeling. So if you have any questions or any comments about the article we're about to go through, please feel free to reference for yourself. Again, she's the author. Her name is Shima Bauman, and the article is in the Chicago Reporter. I think it'll be pretty easy to find a non-biased, non-liberal search engine and type in the words, police 2% major crimes, okay? Should be fairly simple for you to do. So here we go. When police arrest a suspect who is then convicted of the crime, it is a rare exception rather than the rule in the U.S. As Americans across the nation protest police violence, people have begun to call for cuts or changes in public spending on police. But neither these nor other proposed reforms address a key problem with solving crimes. Now, I remind you, before we read all these statistics, that major cities literally spend billions of dollars a year on the police. I believe the NYPD is somewhere between $6 to $7 billion a year. Cities like Chicago, Houston, $2 billion, $4 billion a year, every year. That's their annual budget, okay? That is a ludicrous budget. So you would have to think, for billions of dollars a year, the police would be out there solving crimes, right? Not so much. A recent review of 50 years of national crime data confirms that, as police report, they don't solve most serious crimes in America. But the real statistics are worse than the police data show. In the U.S., it's rare that a crime report leads to police arresting a suspect who is then convicted of a crime. The data show that consistently over the decades, fewer than half of serious crimes are even reported to police. Few, if any, arrests are made in those cases. In reality, about 11% of all serious crimes result in an arrest, and about 2% end in a conviction. Therefore, the number of people police hold accountable for their crimes, or what the author would call a criminal accountability rate, is very low. 2%. 2% is ridiculously low. Okay? That is, from beginning to end, that is the vast number of people that the police investigate, arrest, charge, and then get convicted for a serious crime. Now, to start with, police can only work on solving crimes they're aware of and can only report statistics about their work based on criminal behavior they know about. But there's a huge slice of crime police never find out about. By comparing surveys of the public with police reports, it's clear that less than half of serious violent felonies, crimes like aggravated assault and burglary, ever even get reported to the police. There's a number of reasons that people don't report crimes to the police. They don't want the police coming to their house. They don't want somebody shooting their dog. They don't want somebody seeing that they have a daughter and then their daughter being stalked by somebody who has a badge. I mean, I'm sure there are more realistic concerns, like I'm on probation, I'm on parole, I have a warrant. I'm sure there's a number of reasons why people don't call cops. The official percentage of serious crimes where a person's actually convicted is even lower, though data is hard to confirm. The Bureau of Justice Statistics has not reported national conviction rates for serious crimes since 2006. You want to know why? This is why. Because in that year, out of all serious crimes reported to the police, only 4.1% of cases ended with an individual conviction in the wake of a reported crime. 4%. When the percent is that low and you just don't want to report it anymore, you just go, fuck it. We're just going to take the money and spend it on more fucking, military tear gas or something. Why bother tracking statistics and, they're reporting to the public that 96% of the time we do nothing. No. Why do that? Yeah. Let's just stop. Okay. Yeah. It's been 15 years. Pish posh. People want to know, make them do the hard work. Yeah. That's great. Hey, look, it turns out somebody did do the hard work. Yay. Again, taking into account the fact that twice as many crimes happened, the national conviction rate in 2006 was actually closer to 2%. Now, there are ways that police resolve crimes without arresting people, shooting them. For instance, by mediating neighborhood disputes and directing wayward young people to social services and community programs. I am sure some of that happens. I'm not going to sit here and just be like FTP and all ACAB. I am sure that there is a portion of the policing community that does stuff like this. I haven't met any, but I'm sure they exist. I mean, what are there? Approximately 1.3 million cops in America. So there you go. I'm sure some of them fill some of their time by doing stuff like that. Okay, see? I'm not unreasonable. But so long as police departments measure success by arrests, that won't happen more widely. When considering approaches to police reform, it is important to remember that Americans still don't report about half of all major crimes, and police don't solve very many of the cases that do get reported. Truly improving policing will require addressing these two gaps. A lot of this is discussed by people who are working in the defund the police movements, which are defunding the police, would take money away from them and would direct more money to social services and outreach so that police don't have to do this work. I'm sure it's great that there's a percentage of police out there who do things like, direct wayward youth to social groups that can help them, or government programs or something like that. I'm sure that's a thing. I'm glad it happens. But it would be better if cops didn't have to do that. Yeah, that would be much better, right? Because then maybe they could do something like, I don't know, solve more actual crimes and do better than a 2% conviction rate. 2%. And again, the root of this problem is that the police ultimately exist to protect private property. The police don't have to care about you. It's not their job to care. It's not their job to protect you. It's not their job to solve crime. It's not their job to stop crime. I'm willing to say that there is a certain percentage of crime where, seeing police patrolling around or driving around or walking around on foot would keep some crime from happening. But at the end of the day, the majority of crime still happens anyway, and the police usually come afterwards and they fill out a report for you to give your insurance company because the only practical concern are those of capitalism. They're not there to protect you. At most, they come to make sure that your stuff is accounted for and the cycle of money continues. That's what they do. That's their function. Now, that isn't to say that's all the police do. But they do also do shit like this. Now, you know why police aren't solving crimes? Because they're out in the streets in droves of hundreds, burning off billions of dollars a year in surplus military equipment, especially tear gas. They seem to love this shit. They're suppressing people's rights to protest, people's rights to occupy public space, people's rights to seek redress from their government officials. This is what they are doing. They are working to protect the state. They're not protecting people. They're protecting the state and its interests, which include its property.